Summer Game Fest is a time for hope. It is a time for people to get excited about games, but for others, it is disappointing. And some people were certainly disappointed yesterday, specifically with Arc Raiders. Today, we got a video by our friend Espresso, aka Jordan, and he had a video come out last night, said Arc Raiders finally revealed it. And, well, let's find out what they revealed, and then also there has been an update since this, so we're also going to dive into that as well. But let's see what he has to say.
Arc Raiders. Why, man? Today was the day the countdown concluded for what we've seen recently. Summer Game Fest, and a large announcement of games. A lot of cool stuff, by the way, like Atomic Heart 2 and the Cube, Resident Evil, Splitgate's BR. There was a ton of stuff here that I thought was really cool out of it.
The Cube looks amazing.
Embark's Arc Raiders was the one that I tuned in for. Happy to have seen so many other cool projects.
The weird thing is they teased this so hard. They literally threw in an update with a countdown to this day, and what they put out, I'm sure Jordan's going to show it, was interesting, but at the same time pretty disappointing
alongside that. But that was my main focal point, and well, while perhaps following a blind hope of something more, today's showcase for Arc Raiders left many people wanting more. Now, as a sort of recap here, how we got to this point, recently we ended up seeing that the game itself was updated, where the game files added a sort of troll program where, as mentioned, this was something that was an application that would launch that would troll you by saying play now, but you could never actually click on it. But alongside that, you also saw coded base 64 messages, things that would include I'm not telling you when the release date is, things like the Arc Raiders social links. But more importantly, there was a countdown timer to the start of Summer Game Fest. Now, with the sort of inclusion of this trolling of play now, a lot of people thought it would be a shadow drop of a beta or maybe even the full launch. And listen, I fully recognize a launch shadow drop was full copium.
I thought it was going to be a launch. I'm going to be honest with you. I really thought it was going to be a launch. We've seen them do it before with the finals, things like that. Or they were going to drop the beta that turns into full launch. But I don't think they want to do that with this game because this game has a ton of hype. This is probably the most hype game I've seen in a long time.
I think it'd be so sick, but it was something that was still a little less likely. But with how things performed in the closed tech tests, I thought that maybe something was possible to happen because it felt so polished, so good, and so complete. And then we saw other things like a Czech press leak pointing towards this. There were multiple mentions of soon. There were age ratings submitted. There was an Xbox preload. There was an Epic Game database update that showcased the game as $40. There were teasers.
So this all happened in one day, by the way. This happened yesterday and the night before. It got put everywhere. ESRB ratings got put up. DLC got put out. It was fully put onto stores as if it was about to launch.
That came along with this, even just leading up to the event itself.
And then there was this,
talking about Arc Raiders. But then Summer Game Fest actually happened today, and the first indicator, unfortunately, was how early Arc Raiders was shown in the show. For example, prior events, say the Game Awards in 2023, where Embark in particular ended up shadow dropping the finals after the show. They were one of the closers for that show.
That's a good point.
Today's Summer Game Fest presentation, Splitgate announced its BR at the end of the show, but Arc Raiders was situated around the half-hour mark into a 2-hour presentation. So not a great start there. Immediately, I figured, okay, it's probably just a launch announcement as the big thing, which is sure, all well and dandy, which is ultimately where that trailer led to. But the confirmation we got today was indeed the launch date, but much further away than most of us anticipated. The launch is now confirmed for October 30th. Kind of dangerous timing for a number of different reasons. And again, being this was something that is so...
Yeah, so this is part of the problems and speculation with this, is you have a lot at that point. Like, you have a lot at that point. So let's actually think about this from a logic standpoint. You have Call of Duty that'll be coming out around then. You have probably a Battlefield game. You have numerous other games, of course, coming out in the fall, like we always do. So you are now competing with 1.0 for Escape from Tarkov. It should be around that time. There's a lot. And a Marathon as well. Now Marathon is scheduled to launch before this. Weird. So, I mean, this is a game that I think has the hype and could compete, but I think it would do much, much better if it was like an August, early September, maybe even launch before Borderlands kind of time period.
Far out still, a lot of people were not expecting this in particular. For me, I think my big concerns come down to not capitalizing on the hype and the competition of that time of year. So let me explain. In terms of not capitalizing on the hype, mainstream and all, it's going to have its core niche audience. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, just like the finals, a year, 2 years down the line, there's still going to be that dedicated fan base, because the game inherently, I think, at its core, is a very good game. But capitalizing on that sort of commercial success and what you see out of Arc Raiders is built on a lot of the hype, reaching mainstream audiences. And as it stands right now, that anticipation is through the roof for the game. Going into today, a lot of people had tuned into Summer Game Fest solely for this game and what they saw.
Also, it was super weird that they threw Scrappy, like the chicken, into a promo image for this when the announcement was so lame. Like, and not only, I could have seen if they were like, it's in 2 weeks from now, or it's even in a month from now, or it's even in August. But October, and then to hype it up like that?
Personally, I think that a summer launch would have been incredible. August or September, there's not much competition there in regards to
what I'm saying,
shooters
Jordan.
in general, but also not a whole ton of games launching around that point as well. Plus, people will still have plenty of time to game for people that may be like students going back to school after the summer and into the fall. Much more alongside that. But also you have to consider competition at the end of October, early November is probably around the highest for some of the larger, of course, shooter games, but gaming in general. A lot of people like to take advantage of that Q4 sort of sales boost. A lot of people are spending more around Christmas and the holidays. So competition is absolutely going to be there. And we've talked about how this game basically put Marathon to shame. Pending no crazy changes, of course, I do think that's still going to be the case as a direct competitor in the Extract.
I mean, Marathon could still get delayed or completely removed as well. I do gotta, I feel weird like interrupting Jordan in the middle of the video here, but there was a little bit that came out today on the Discord for Arc Raiders. The kind of like comms person came out and said this: "Hello Raiders, in the lead up to the Arc Raiders date reveal, we put out a countdown on June 6th. This gave the false impression that we would be shadow dropping the game. Instead, you found out that the Arc Raiders is coming on October 30th, making it a countdown to a countdown." I love that they acknowledged that part. "The frustration and disappointment that followed is 100% our fault. By the way, community managers, this is how you accept messing up. Thank you for doing this, Arc Raiders. Great response." There's more though. "The teaser we posted came from a place of genuine excitement. We finally have an actual date, but it's clear that what we saw as playful and hype building came across as misleading and frustrating. That many of you and we get why. We mismanaged the hype." They put this in bold. "We mismanaged the hype. We misread the situation, and we are sorry. We are so sorry that this led you to disappointment." I love this response. I love this response. "We are making this game for you, and your reaction to Arc Raiders has been humbling and overwhelming and exciting. Next steps, we are putting our heads down and focusing on building the game. We know that that games live and die by polish and quality, balance, and long-term fun. We need this additional time to ensure we can meet your expectations. Look here and our socials for updates on our progress and road to launch. Thank you for holding us to high standards, and we intend to meet it." Now, I have seen a lot of people, including the person that I saw this tweet from, the Tactical Brit, say something along the lines of, "Arc Raiders has to be released in August or September. October is too competitive a window for it to get the followers and attention it deserves." Here's the thing. If a game is good, a game will get its attention. It will. It just will. Yeah, Call of Duty comes out at that time. Yeah, Marathon will be out by then, maybe. Big maybe. And yeah, we might have a Battlefield game, and that will take away from it. But in the longevity and long run of it, it'll just suck because it won't have that initial boost. So I do agree with that. But if anything, I hate to be the person to say this, it's not going to get moved up. If anything, it's going to get delayed. I'm sorry to be the person to say that, but I just don't think it will. Based off of the leaks that we've heard about this game, they're planning on having 12 maps, 12 areas that you can go into at launch. They're planning on having, like, I think they said 4 times the size of game that they had in the tech test. It's supposed to be freaking big. And if it's that big, then it's going to take time. And if we want it to be polished, we want it to be polished. But I get it. I get the disappointment completely. It sucks. I wanted to be playing it right now.
Action genre, and we still don't know if it's going to be something that is indeed delayed or not. So there is the possibility that it doesn't even have to contend with Marathon at all, but I'm more so talking about the shooter category in general. That, for people here on the channel, that's COD season. depending on when things are announced for this game this year, COD has historically, for the vast majority of titles, released in the final week of October to the first week of November in almost
during that
all
time.
cases. Not to mention the technically unannounced Battlefield 6. I say technically unannounced because we know a game is coming. We don't know when it will launch, and we don't know the
I'm calling February for that Battlefield. I don't think it's coming out this year.
name of it, but that still has potential to be something to contend with another Q4 launch as
But
well.
it's possible. Yeah, it is
So
possible
while
for
I'm not
Q4.
necessarily concerned about the game's longevity, that core audience, again, is going to be there no matter what, and the crossover likely isn't a whole ton of an issue. But just from a sheer economic standpoint, $80 for COD and a Battlefield, $160 right there,
This is a
and
good
another
point.
$40 for Arc Raiders, $200 in today's economy, that's asking a lot of fans.
In a
So
month.
to situate it squarely in between a couple of these other big launches, I personally don't think that I would have made that decision. Maybe it's something that is what is required. The game
By the
is
way, traditionally, just to say this, traditionally, Battlefield, if it does come out this fall, they are going to put it out probably around 3 weeks to a month before Call of Duty. That's traditionally what they do. It won't be after, it'll be before.
is going to be ready for sure by then, and it's one of the things that, like, we don't know the details behind the curtain. Maybe, again, that is the earliest, but personally do think it's a little bit of a bummer. But here's the thing, I'm not writing this off just yet. I do think that this is far enough out that we have so much time for a steady stream of marketing and mainstream appeal to push it with, say, a traditional
I might do a story video for
marketing
Arc
campaign.
Raiders.
Yes, we as
considering
gamers
it.
love the sort of surprise of a shadow drop. Yes, it worked well for the finals and Embark's last game, but it is something that, I mean, if you look at every other game, you usually end up seeing marketing campaigns building the anticipation from a larger point out. I do think that at some point a beta is going to end up coming into play. It's
possible, yeah.
Honestly, with Gamescom in August, I would
So yeah, this Gamescom opening night, I think it's August 17th that it is. We'll be getting something for Call of Duty then. Now, what that is, it might just be a reveal, or it could be first multiplayer gameplay, or it could be, my guess is they reveal beginning of August. They probably reveal the name, and then at Gamescom, they show us the first campaign mission. That's my guess.
not be surprised if there's another showcase of that game during opening night live, the next sort of larger game showcase beyond what is going to be the Xbox game showcase this upcoming Sunday. But beyond that, August and Gamescom opening night live is going to be another big focal point for the industry.
Hundo P,
So
Jordan.
it is something that you could end up shadow dropping a beta after that, giving players a lot more hands-on time, kind of bridging that gap between the closed tech test and the full launch, satisfying that hunger a little bit while also opening it up for even more players to try and giving critical feedback for a larger portion of the game's offering compared to what we saw in the tech test and versus what we'll see in the full launch of the game. Here's the thing. I think this game is special. I loved it during the tech test and have been fiending for it since.
He has.
I'm going to
Jordan
play it
messages me
regardless.
at least once a week
the
about
overall
this game.
sort of situation of this is just a less optimal outcome for what I had hoped it to be. Admittedly, I am a bit disappointed that Embark decided to leave such obvious breadcrumb trails that indicated almost hints towards play now, that type of element of things, and then just didn't deliver on it. But other than that, it's whatever. I think that this is the only sort of blemish I have on an otherwise game that I am incredibly excited for. But beyond that, not necessarily talking only about being disappointed with the announcement date or how the date is still so far out, we did actually learn a little bit more about the game upcoming. On a brighter note, we got glimpses of more content, including at least one new map. I can't tell based off of some of
There's
the angles,
more than that.
and also because we have to consider
There's more than that. In this trailer, I think, Jordan,
that there are multiple different weather patterns that happen for each of
That's
these
true,
maps.
that's a good point.
That it could be one, it could be two, maybe three. I don't think that that was shown off three, but one or two, but I'm more so also leaning just towards it being one new map that was showcased. We ended up seeing that map being a more foresty terrain as the main biome, which is definitely really cool. I think a lush green map here, which as we see with some of the other maps we saw in the closed tech test, it was a lot of
They
like
showed more than that,
rundown,
though.
abandoned,
I don't know why he's just
decaying
showing these
areas,
two. There's
and this
more
one
than
looks
that.
more foresty and natural, which is pretty cool. We also learned of a potentially new unknown arc threat, which
this is cool. I love the art and what they do with this.
I think might be pointing towards that larger
There
rod-shaped
it
arc
is.
machine that we saw, which looks so much bigger than anything else that we saw, which is kind of crazy to consider because the Queen, I mean, that took so much of the lobby's teamwork, focus, and everything in between. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to know how powerful this new unknown arc threat brings to the table and what kind of rewards that we'll end up seeing if you do end up taking that out. One thing that I feel like I remember hearing about the tech test, and I could be wrong on this, so I do apologize if so, but I feel like I heard that it was at max 20% of the game's offering. So whether
I heard 25, so there you go. Whoops, wrong buttons.
that be quests, weaponry, arc machines, maps, cosmetics to earn, so on and so forth, I'm not entirely sure, but if that actually does hold up, that's an incredible amount of content in terms of depth that we have to work with that, again, I am looking forward to seeing what we will have. It's just, I was hoping it'd be a little bit sooner. Overall, admittedly, a little bit bummed about that, but also I'm hopeful for that wait to be worth it. I'm also very curious how we'll be formatting the content here on the channel, not necessarily about like the game itself, but like how.
So that's going to be very, very interesting this fall. So like channels like Jack Frags or other people like that, they'll just play the game, give their opinions on it. But Jordan, he covers things like I cover story. So for me, it's actually pretty straightforward too. I'll just have a lot of story videos. I want to do a story video on the new Battlefield game. I was just talking about how I want to do a story on Arc Raiders. Call of Duty, I'll do a million story videos on it. But for other channels like Jordan, who like in-depth do deep dives on like certain mechanics or things like that, or like a channel like Exclusive Ace, if he wants to do a game like Battlefield and Call of Duty at the same time, it's very difficult to do that, and YouTube doesn't support it very well.
We manage things here and how we present it, because with potentially 2 FPS games launching, if Battlefield does indeed launch and join the sort of COD competition this fall, adding a third game to that, I mean, I'm gonna lock myself in my office for you guys in the content. It's gonna be an insanely busy Q4. I do think that if that's the case, we'll probably be putting like larger scale, more produced style videos here on the channel.
That's
then
pretty
having
much what
more
I
like
do.
guides or like raid runs on the second channel, and then I mean, maybe even there's a third, but we're probably getting ahead of ourselves here at that one. Anyways, Arc Raiders, unfortunately, a hefty wait still ahead of us, another 4.5 months, but fingers crossed it's all worth it. And fingers crossed we get a beta, perhaps again after opening night live in August, but we'll see. What are your thoughts? You anxious to get topside like me? Looking forward to it? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Arc Raiders.
Thanks for the breakdown, J-Rod. I've never called him that ever, but yeah, it's disappointing, but at the same time, I like that they're putting the polish into the game. They're not just rushing it out. I was a little bit worried about that when we thought it was shadow dropping this weekend, because if it did and they screwed it up, then that's just the end of the game. Right now, they may hopefully may deter some people from playing it in the short term, but if they can polish it and get it out and everyone enjoys it as much as they did the tech test, that'll be what's important, right? So then more people will end up playing it in the long run. That's what they're hoping on, but it's scary. It's to launch a game in Q4 against the heavy hitters, AAA titles. That's scary, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised that that is the date they put on it. I think that's the most surprising thing to me.